And let me go ahead and get started. So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, whatever time zone you're in. My name is John Merideth, and I'll be your instructor. So, I want to welcome you to the Cloud SOAR Fundamental Certification. And this is one of many certification classes that we're doing over yesterday and today and tomorrow. So, wanted to, like I said, say hi, introduce ourselves. Like I said, as I mentioned in the chat box, I'm up here in New England, up in about an hour or so north of Boston, Massachusetts. And of course, the rain, we're having rain today, but that's okay. I'll gladly take it. I've been with Sumo Logic a little less than 3 years. It'll be 3 years in January. Have taught since about 1983 when I started off as a Navy instructor once upon a time in a past life. I've worked as an IT manager, a programmer, a DBA, a network admin, and a trainer. So I always managed to go back to what I love doing, which is teaching. So my only ask of you as a trainer, as the trainer in this class, is if you've got a question, please ask your question. One thing I have learned through the years, and that is if one person has a question, chances are somebody else in the room has a similar question. So please ask your question, help us help you, okay? I'm helped here and assisted by Claudio. So Claudio, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. I'm Claudio Ghedini, Security Solution Engineer for Sumo Logic here. I'm Cloud SOAR specialist, and I help the customer to successfully implement the automation and transform the standard operating procedure in automated workflow with Cloud SOAR. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
And thank you, Claudio. Again, Claudio's part of the team that set this product up, and have been using it and playing with it and developing it for a long time. He is obviously our subject matter expert with regards to any questions and stuff you have in the chat box. He will gladly field those, and we'll keep going. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my video just to save some bandwidth here, and let's go ahead and talk about the agenda. So our agenda for this class is, obviously start off with what is Cloud SOAR? What do we mean by Cloud SOAR? What can Cloud SOAR do for you? And you're going to find that this class has got a nice little balance of little lecture lab and a lot of lab. Lecture lab, a lot of lab. So we'll, what is Cloud SOAR? And then we'll go in and look at the Cloud SOAR user interface and play with that. Then we're going to talk about case management and incident response. And there's lots of ways we can talk about case management and incident response. We're going to use, for case management here, our Cloud SIM product. And so we're going to see that, talk about that, and then we'll talk about how we can use the Cloud SOAR to respond to that. And of course, we have a lab where we do incident and case management and incident response to that incident. So we'll see both the Cloud SIM and the Cloud SOAR in action. Then our last topic is on dashboards and reports and how you and I can customize the various dashboards and reports and things along those lines. And of course, we'll have a hands-on lab to customize those dashboards and reports. And that will pretty much take care of 2 hours. By the way, about an hour into this, I plan on taking about a 10-minute break. So for those of you who are wondering logistic-wise, if we will take a break, yes, I do plan on taking a break in about an hour, just so you're aware. And then the last hour of this is a 3-hour session. The last hour, you have an opportunity to take the certification exam. Now, this Cloud SOAR class is brand new. So you can be the first kid on your block to get the Cloud SOAR certification. And so, in fact, not only do we want you to take it and get certified, but we're even going to encourage you. We're going to provide you a gift card for a lunch that will take care of things. So here's how it works. You've registered for this class, which you did, right? You're attending the full session, listening to the lecture, doing the labs, that sort of thing. Then if you pass the certification, the passing score says 80%, it's actually 75% for this exam. And what we will do then from that is we'll take the people who pass the certification, check you against the session, and we will then look up your IP address and look up your country of origin. And based on that, we will automatically send you a gift card based on your country of origin. So for example, if you're in the US here, probably Uber Eats. If you're in India, we'll send you a Swiggy card, that sort of thing. But we're going to look at your IP address and base it on, by the IP address, base that as your country of origin. And so the point is that occasionally we get that wrong. Maybe you're VPN'd in and therefore your country of origin says one country when you're really working on the country. So my point is, they say within 72 business hours, we should send you a card. And that's probably very good. But keep in mind that we've got a lot of classes running and that sort of thing. So I would ask you to just be patient until probably Monday of next week. And if you don't, then you should see this email. This email will come from Stacy Kornlupke, who is our Director of Education. And the trick is, if you get the wrong card, if you get a card, for example, you're in India and they give you an Uber Eats card, and that doesn't work for you, feel free to reach us here at training-promotions@sumologic.com. Send us an email, explain the situation. We will rectify and get you the right voucher and that sort of thing. Okay. So that is the process that's going to happen. Any questions about this process? Again, I can't stress enough, we'd love you to take the certification exam. I know we did this session earlier, about 12 hours ago, and we had lots of folks get certified. So it was great. And I would encourage you to jump on that same bandwagon. All right, course objectives. Obviously, we want to explain what Cloud SOAR is and what value it has for you and your company. Investigate an incident to determine the best response. Now, this incident could come from a lot of different systems. In our case, we're going to have this incident come from our Cloud SIM environment. And since some of you may not be familiar with our Cloud SIM environment, I'll have to explain a little bit about the Cloud SIM environment. That's not really the purpose of the course. The purpose of the course is Cloud SOAR. And then we're going to use Cloud SOAR, and we're going to orchestrate a response and using automated playbooks. Obviously, this means we need to talk about what a playbook is, where playbooks come from, how we can automate, how we can develop playbooks, stuff like that. And then we're going to be able to create and export out custom dashboards and reports. And basically that's that. So those are our game plans. That is how we're going to spend the next 2 hours of lecture and lab. That's also, by the way, what your certification exam is based on. Any questions before I get started? Any questions at all? All right, then. Let's go ahead. So what is Cloud SOAR? SOAR stands for Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response. It is our Sumo Logic's tool that lets you, based on an incident, execute a playbook or execute some, this is an example of a playbook, where you can automate a response to your threat and what actions that you want to take. This is going to save your SOC team time. It's going to save your company money. It's going to be a big, big benefit to you. Okay. So that's what Cloud SOAR is. Now, what's the value of Cloud SOAR? Again, this is going to allow your SOC team faster response times, because we can automate some of the routine things, right? You got a phishing email, right? You want to isolate that email, SOC tools can do that and resolve that for you very quickly and very easily. We can also, by using the SOC tool, any SOC analyst can run a playbook and modify a playbook and things like that. But so they can deploy the playbooks, and that's going to allow us to take care of some of the minor low-hanging fruit with regards to incidents and stuff like that, so that your senior analysts can really focus on the serious threats that they want to focus on. They can dive deep into those sort of things. Okay. Just so you know, Lou has asked a question here. He is taking another session here. Can he come back and take the exam? Yes, you can go into it. Yeah, you can take the exam anytime you want. Obviously, during Illuminate, that's fine. So yeah, no problem. So yeah, I understand some of you are trying to do a bunch of different things, 10 different sessions, so I get it. Back to why using the Cloud SOAR, we can consolidate our tools. This tool has a rich set of APIs, application programming interfaces that you can use. So if you want to invoke some of these playbooks programmatically, if you want to modify and create some of these playbooks programmatically, you can do that. So please take advantage of the APIs if that's how your company does things, and try to automate things. And most importantly, this is part of our security suite. And so I'm going to talk on the next slide about our security suite, but this allows you to use one part of our security suite for an end-to-end solution with regards to things. Let's talk about that in a little more detail. Most of you, if you've been Sumo Logic customers for a while, you know that we used to focus on logs and metrics. And so we could take your log data, it could be your Windows event logs, your firewall logs, whatever logs, And we could write queries. And we could write those queries to see where your users are logging in from a security perspective, what operating systems they're logging in from, what kind of activity you're seeing on your ports of your firewall, all that fun stuff. So we call that cloud security monitoring and analytics. And with cloud security monitoring and analytics, you can write these queries, build these dashboards, do that sort of thing. We also have a bunch of out-of-the-box applications or apps that you can install to ensure that what your compliance levels are and things along those lines. So that's all part of this cloud security monitoring and analytics. And by the way, I would mention to you that we're offering training, a class in that now during Illuminate, as well as after Illuminate. You'll find that we'll be, booking a lot of training here in September, October, November, and December that you guys are welcome to attend. And again, our training here is free. So we want you to take the classes, learn Sumo, get certified. By the way, we found that when people do that, that they get certified and stuff like that, they're much more comfortable with the product. They use the product more. It's just win-win-win. So we do that. So that's one tool. And by the way, when this cloud security monitoring analytics is part of the monitoring process, right? We want to see what's going on. It's part of the monitoring process. Then you can go to the Cloud SIM. We have a Cloud SIM product. Again, SIM standing for Security, Information, and Event Management. And of course, we have training on this as well today, tomorrow, as well as in the future. So you guys can take a Cloud SIM course or courses. And so this is our tool where we can sit there and generate and ingest a bunch of log data. And from those log data, we're going to compare it against a bunch of MITRE ATT&CK framework rules. And if there is a match, for example, a user's opened up a phishing email, that will hit a rule. A rule says, oh, somebody's trying to access, do a phishing link. That rule will then generate a signal. We will then also, when we generate that signal, extract out the entity, either the IP address, the username, the host name, whatever. And we'll keep an eye on that host name for about a 2-week period of time. And if I generate enough signals about that entity, I will generate something called an insight, which is a collection of signals that indicate that there's some activity here going, there's some concern. And so we will use this Cloud SIM product to investigate. Again, why do I mention the monitoring and investigate and stuff? Because you're going to see that in the form of a test question. So I'm trying to prepare you all here, okay? Then finally, response, and that's what we're here for today, to learn about Cloud SOAR. With Cloud SOAR, we can take these incidences that come from our Cloud SIM or other systems, and you can have the Cloud SOAR then respond to these. Maybe we've got to get some additional data. Maybe we want to take certain actions. Maybe we want to isolate the machine. That's what this Cloud SOAR environment is going to do. Again, automation, orchestration, and insightful decision-making. So these are the 3 pillars that make up our Sumo Logic security solution. Any questions so far? All right. So let's put it into use case. Let's put it into practice here, right? We've got this fictitious company called Sumo Logic Coffee, right? Provides a great cup of coffee. Maybe you haven't seen one of the Sumo Logic coffee companies around, but you probably, if you're in the US, have seen a green labeled company that produces coffee. Again, similar sort of thing. We're going to take this Sumo Logic coffee and we're going to take their log, metric, and trace data, and we're going to, of course, ingest it into Sumo Logic, okay? And then we can write queries off of it. We can do, visualize it. We can build dashboards, all that stuff. We can also integrate it with our SIM product. So we can ingest that into our SIM product, and it's going to extract out and look for information based on the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So again, maybe somebody's trying to access a deleted account or a disabled account. That would raise a little alert in the Cloud SIM environment. Maybe if somebody is, they found and detected a malware type file, some file that we know is a known virus issue, even though they've renamed the file. It's the file hash that we use. So again, this will show up in our Cloud SIM. And so our Cloud SIM is going to tell us, hey, we got problems, we got issues, we got things to take care of. Then we can respond with our Cloud SOAR. So our Cloud SOAR, we have various playbooks and various activities and stuff that we can do to take action to resolve these. They can either be, automatic, or it can be semi-automatic, where you and I decide what activities and stuff we want to play with. Additionally, in this Cloud SOAR product, we can have dashboards to see how we're doing as far as maintaining our security environment, how many incidents we have, how many we closed, things like that. We also have various reports. I've got a report that I can generate for each incident on what we did, the actions we took, et cetera, et cetera. I also have reports like I can generate at monthly or quarterly levels to indicate what has your SOAR and the Security Operations Center done for you over the last month or over the last quarter. So these are all built into these products. So again, how does the Cloud SOAR help your SOC, right? Again, we're gonna find that we're gonna get some sort of a message here, either through the Cloud SIEM or other systems. And so the Cloud SOAR product has a database of known indicators of compromise. And so when these, again, as database of known indicators of compromise come in, obviously we've got something here we need to pay attention to, we need to take care of, we need to resolve, things like that. We've also got playbooks, and depending on what system you integrate with, you'll have some bunch of built-in playbooks that you can use. And these are automated or semi-automated workflows that help us orchestrate the response and take the actions that we want. Again, these responses can be used to isolate the machines, clean up the files, all kinds of things. And we'll get into more detail about that in just a few. Obviously, we got dashboards so that we can see at a very high level, how are we doing? How many insights do we have? How many are closed? How many are opened? What kind of insights are they? That sort of thing. And you'll see that here shortly. And then also we have the ability, this gives us the ability to triage, right? So we want to investigate events that aren't getting resolved, or the system's not automatically taken care of. And some of these may require us a little bit more deep dive to do some more investigation. And this system is going to free us up to do that. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like you to log into our training environment, and I want to walk with you and explore our Cloud SOAR environment, our Cloud SOAR user interface. So I'm going to do a couple things here to make things a little easier for you. First of all, I'd like you all to fire up Google Chrome or Firefox on your computers. And I'd like you to go to service.sumologic.com. That's service.sumologic.com. I'm going to take some of this information. I'm going to put it in the chat box here for you. Paste it in. I'll explain that in just a minute. I'm also going to upload a PDF document that I will explain to you what this PDF document is in a minute. Most of you will probably be able to grab it from the chat box. Some of you will not be able to grab it from the chat box because of your company's security profile in Zoom. I'll show you another way to get this document. So just bear with me. Okay. The second thing I'd like you to do, now that you've gone to service.sumologic.com, and let me go to service.sumologic.com, and you'll see it's asking you for an email address and it's asking you for a password. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pick a 3-digit number, any 3-digit number that you want. Could be 007 if you're a James Bond fan, could be, whatever number you want. And I'd like you in the chat box to tell me what number you're going to grab. So I'm going to grab 603. And you may ask, John, why 603? 603 is the area code here of New Hampshire. Okay. So again, I see you all typing those numbers in. I appreciate that. That's very, very helpful. And so what we're going to do is we're going to log in as an email address of training +analyst. So the word training, the +analyst, and then the 3-digit number that we've selected. So I'm going to grab 603 and I'm going to put an @ and type in here sumologic.com. Yeah. So my email address is training +analyst603@sumologic.com, and I'm sure yours is something very similar. The difference is you've got a different number. And then the password here, I'm going to let you see the password as I type it. The password is capital ILLUMINATE, Illuminate, number two, exclamation mark. So Illuminate 22, exclamation mark. That is the password. Now, That is the current password, and it will be this password for about the next 3 weeks. We change the password on the first Monday of every month. So if you're curious what the new password is, I'll show you in a few minutes where you can find that information. And actually, I'll show you later on in the session where that is. Okay. So if you type in Illuminate 22 exclamation mark with a capital I, and you click sign in, it should, in fact, let you in. Now, earlier I had posted up this PDF document. So let's talk about this PDF document. This is our Cloud SOAR Fundamentals Student Lab Guide PDF document. And here, if you go through here, we've got a lovely table of contents, disclaimer, all kinds of stuff. The first lab here, lab 0, is how to log into the environment. That's what we have. So this gives you directions on how to log in. So you can share this document with your friends, your colleagues, things like that. And you guys can go through these labs on your own if you want to. It's a great opportunity to check out this product and check out Sumo Logic if you're not very familiar with us. And obviously, we're going to get into lab 1 in just a minute or two. But before I do that, I also want to take you and show you a couple of things. So first of all, if you're all logged in, I'd like you to go ahead and raise your hand. So if you're all logged in, ready to go, we're in, life is good, I'd like you to go into, again, Zoom here, in the participants window, reactions, and you should be able to raise your hand. Okay? If you're having problems logging in, please let us know. Claudio and I will gladly help you out. Thumbs up works too. That's great. Okay. So far out of about 23 folks, I've got 7 folks who are logged in. Now, I recognize that everybody's going to be able to participate. Some of you are distracted in the day job and all that. So I'm not looking for a perfect 100%, but I am hopefully going to get closer than 1/3. So I want to make sure I give you time here to log in. Also, in case anybody needs that PDF document again, I'll upload it here to the chat box, and so you can grab a hold of that document. Yeah. Again, if you have any problems logging in, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and press forward here. So bear with me a moment while I lower some hands. Shubham, I just uploaded the PDF, so hopefully you've got it right there. But in a minute, I'm going to show you someplace else that you can get the PDF from as well. So, and again, if I mispronounced your name, I apologize. And I've got all the hands lowered here, so let's go ahead and go. Now, before I get into lab 1 and we start going to the user interface and all that stuff, I want to take a minute. I want to show you some things in Sumo Logic. So here again, you're service.sumologic.com. You've logged in with an email address. You've logged in with a password. This area over here is called our navigation panel. So navigation panel is not open. It looks like this. All you've got to do is click where it says Sumo Logic or click on this hamburger menu, and it opens right up. So here's my navigation panel. And again, we've got lots of other training going on here during this. We talk about the navigation panel and these folders and all that good stuff. We'll show you that. Down below here is the main menu. And in a minute or two, we're going to go click on Cloud SOAR and see the Cloud SOAR environment or see the Cloud SIM environment or whatever you want to do. But for right now, I prefer you didn't click, and because I want to show you something else. And for this, I want you to follow along with me. So here you see this lovely home tab, and then underneath that you see 3 other tabs. Well, I want you to click on certification. So under the house tab, you click on certification, then there's this get certified button. And when you click on it, it should take you into our learning management system. Now, for those of you who've logged into our learning management system from your company's environments, you'll notice there's a lot more objects here. Okay, there's the ability to take self-paced courses, and I'll show this later as we wrap up the course. And also, there's the ability to take the certification exams. We do not want training analyst, whatever number, to take an exam. We want to make sure you take the exam with your name so that you get proper credit. Okay, so we've disabled for the training analyst account and the training admin accounts, for that matter, the ability to take exams or go through self-paced courses. So I'll come back and revisit this later. What I do want to show you though right now is right here, there is a recorded live training. And if you click on that recorded live training, you can see all of the courses that we offer. So here are all of our courses. And in the course, in our case, we are in the Cloud SOAR Fundamental Search Engine. That is the class that we are in right now. If you click on the Cloud SOAR Fundamentals Search Engine, there should be a little registration button that you can click on and boom, you are registered. Now here you'll see two different things. You'll see our slides for the Cloud SOAR class. And I would encourage you while we're here to download those slides for the Cloud SOAR class. You may ask yourself, why? Why do I want to download them? Because some of your exam questions are going to be based on the slide content. And so by having those slides, it'll make it easy for you to answer those questions. Okay. Now also, here's where that lab guide is, and you can download that lab guide from here. Additionally, we're going to add a recording, perhaps it's this session or the earlier session, a recording of this in the next day or so you can go in here and actually listen to the class. If I go into any of our other courses, like Administrative Search Jam here, if I go into here, and again, if I clicked on the registration button, I can see a recording of this class, as well as these slides, the lab guides, and any other documents that I need for a specific class. So that's just a resource for you, and I want to make sure that you guys are aware. Okay. And so, like I said, all of our classes are listed here. You're welcome to come in here at any time. Any questions about that? All right, well, let's get back to the training then. I'm going to go ahead and take this tab here, where this recorded live training tab is. I'm going to close it up. And over here where my Sumo Logic tab is, I'm going to pin that. I'm in Google Chrome, so I can right click on the tab, I can pin it. Just gives me a little bit more screen space, real estate, that sort of thing. And what we want to do, per the directions here in Lab 0, we want to click on this Cloud SOAR link. So here in my main menu down at the bottom, you and I want to click on the Cloud SOAR link so that we go into the Cloud SOAR product. Now, depending on what state you were in before, you're going to see one of two things. You will see this dashboard panel, or you will see it says SecOps. I'm going to pick on SecOps first. So if you do see this dashboard panel, please just click on SecOps. Now, SecOps is kind of like your home page. Here I can see who I'm logged in as. Here I can see any operations that have been assigned to me, any insights that are assigned to me, any notes, any tasks, things like that. So this home page allows you to see what things are assigned to you, what notes you might have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I've got nothing assigned to me yet, but of course, in a real working environment, I probably would. And that's the SecOps homepage. If I click on dashboard here, I can see at a very high level how we are doing with regards to our insights. So here, as I look, I can see that we've got 180 open insights that we need to investigate. And you might think, oh my gosh, that's a lot. Well, we set up a lot for this class because we're going to be playing with some of these insights and closing these things up. I can also see how many insights we've closed in our current year. Excuse me. I can also scroll down and see some of these insights, what type of insights and things like that they are. Yeah. I see Chris has posted up the slides. That's fine, Chris. Okay. And then here I can see my incidents over time. And you're going to find later on in the course, we can customize this. And we'll show you how to customize this. I can see my incident status. So again, I've got 92% open, 7% closed. And I can also see the different types of incidences that we have. Now, these widgets that are displayed here, like I said, I can add other widgets and customize this a little bit to make it a little bit more meaningful for whoever my audience is, right? If I'm a SOC analyst and this, I would like this information. This is good stuff. If I'm a manager, I probably want to know more like what we've resolved, what threats we've seen, what, I may want to look at it differently based on my role. Okay. So that's our dashboard and that's our SecOps. Now, additionally, up here, there's a button called Incidents. You and I can click on that button called Incidences, and we can see various incidences, various insights. Now, where do these come from? These come from whatever systems are feeding your Cloud SOAR environment. So if you've got firewalls feeding this, leave from your firewall. In our case, it's from our Cloud SIEM environment. So I have a series of insights here. And if I wanted to, I could click on a particular insight. Actually, no, let me not do that right now. I'll worry about clicking on it just a little bit. But let me click on the word mine, for example. And if I click on mine, it's going to filter and only show me the insights that are assigned to me. Right now, I've got none assigned to me. I'll fix that in a little bit. I can turn that mind off by clicking on it again. I can also click on this to see if something's deleted. I can do that. Up here in the query box, I can also write expressions like I want to see the status of closed or the status of opened, and it will filter, based on that information. And I'll show you in a minute where you can find out, writing the query and stuff in here that you want to write. So Lou asked a really good question. Can Cloud SOAR take incidences other than from our Cloud SIEM? Absolutely, Lou. It certainly can. It can bring from firewalls, from various other systems. We can integrate with lots and lots of different products, lots and lots of different systems. We can even obviously integrate with other Cloud SIEM products. But obviously for our purposes, we're going to try to promote our own. But yes, we can integrate with a lot of things. Claudio, anything on that you would like to add? Because obviously we do support so many different systems.
Sure. I mean, we support many sources of data. So we have integration with many different technologies that can be used to ingest the data and create incidents.
Thank you, sir.
And John, sorry, this is Andrea.
Hey, Andrea.
Just to mention that we have a series of connectors which are already available, over 300 connectors that we can use for ingesting alerts and incidents from different type of technologies. It's not just the SIEM, can be threat intel, can be IDS, IPS, EDR, can be, let's say, all the anti-malware, antivirus systems, and so on. So many different type of data sources.
Yep. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can someone post the link that you talk about, Andrea, on those connectors? I think that sounds very useful.
Sorry, John, I couldn't understand the question.
I think the question was, she wanted to know the link or some reference of various collectors and stuff that we support, where they can find out more information about that.
Yeah, I mean, they are inside the platform in the App Central,
Yep.
so you can maybe show them.
Yeah, I'll show them here a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's all embedded into the platform. Once, of course, you acquire the access into the platform, you can automatically go and see the technologies, the connectors, and you can easily import them.
Yep.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. I assume, Lou, that was you that was asking the question there.
Yes.
Okay, great. Super. Just want to make connections here. So appreciate the question. It's an excellent one. I'm going to get to it a little bit more detail in just a few minutes. But so here I can see my insights. I can also see my entities. My entities, again, are my host names, my IP addresses, my usernames, whatever. And I could click on a specific host name here, a specific entity, and I can see what instances they may have. Just bear with me a second. I'm looking for a specific one here. And so I can click on these and I can actually see what incidences they have. And it's possible that an incident or an entity may have more than one incident. And so normally when I click on Rico Dynamite, when it's done processing, I would see that it probably has about 4 or 5 insights. But those insights haven't come through here. We just reset this environment prior to our class. So That's why the pickings here are a little slim. So apologize for that. But entities allow you to see, again, the who of this sort of equation. Now, besides entities, over here is where our documentation is. So test question, right? Look for the question mark, and here you can go ahead and find the various user manual, integration framework manual. So here, for example, is the framework we use to extend the SOAR operations and integrate with other systems. We also have the API documentation. We also have the API quick start guide. So for those of you who have programmatic tendencies, you can do that. Again, you can also see these manuals over here. You can download these manuals and feel free to take a look at them. Lou, since you had mentioned about things we integrate with, again, maybe you want to download the integration framework manual. Now, over here, this gear icon is where we specify our automation and our settings. Normally, I would not touch this. I would leave it alone because we'll get into it in the admin class. But since Lou asked, I'm going to go ahead and click on automation. And here in automation, I can click on integrations. And here is where I can set up the various integrations to the systems that I want to. So various systems that I want to talk to, not just Sumo Logic's Cloud SIEM Enterprise environment, but other things. And so here is where we get into how we integrate with other systems. So Lou, I hope that answers some of your question here and gives you some food for thought here as far as integrations.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, what we're doing right now is we're building an administrative class for this. And once that class is released, that's where we'll get into setting up these integrations and setting up playbook, a little more about playbooks and all this cool stuff from an administrative perspective. Besides automation, there's also a settings area where you can create your roles and user accounts and all that cool stuff. And like I said, that'll all be discussed in our admin class or classes. Then over here on the far right, this is your profile where you can A, log out, which I'm not going to worry about right now, or B, I can click on profile and I can see who I'm logged in as, my username, surname, what time zone I'm in. And this time zone gets to be very, very important, by the way, because this time zone is all about when I run a report, what time zone am I going to see it based on, okay? So you do want to make sure your time zone settings are correct. And of course, here's also API tokens that I can use to connect other systems and various things like that. So lots of good information there. And so that pretty much takes care of the interface. One thing, if I want to get back to my dashboard or my SEC dashboard, what you're going to want to do here is click where it says in the upper left-hand corner, Sumo Logic. If you click on that, that will take you back to your SecOps and dashboard, where you can then select whatever you want. The other ones are pretty obvious. I want to go into incidents, I go into incidents. I want to go into entities, I go into entities. You know, I want to go into these documentation areas, I go into these documentation areas. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is lab one, where they wanted us to go ahead and go through the various settings and stuff that I went through so that you can basically see what's going on here. Any questions about that? All right.
So one question,
Yes, please.
not directly related, but something I was noticing from the entities. I see a lot of different entity types, but one that I'm used to from CSE that I don't notice here, at least, is like a username. Is that something that shows up in a different way, or maybe just the data is not available?
It's probably because we reset the data, but normally I would think we would pick up usernames. So I appreciate the question, Brett. But I know we can pick up the usernames from our Cloud SIEM environment. And Andrea and Claudia, if there's anything you would want to add on that, feel free.
Yeah. I mean, we can ingest different type of entities like files, IP, URL, email, user details, domain, and so on. So yeah, based on the type of is classified based on the type, based on the content of that entity. Yeah, you can perform then see more details and perform different action.
Sounds good. Give me a second here, folks.
I have a similar question, just piggyback what Brad mentioned. So it looks like in the Cloud SOAR entities page, it looks from the lens of the IOCs, right? We have different types of IOCs like IP, domain, URL, right? While in the Cloud SIM, the entity is the aggregation, right? Based on what to aggregate a list of events. That is based on IP or user, right? Typically, asset information. So are we sure that both, are we talking about the same in both platforms here?
Yeah,
Or
tell it, we're going to get into that here just a little bit, and you'll be able to see the connection a little bit more clearly. So just bear with me. I appreciate the questions. They're very valid, but give me about the next lab or two, and then it should be very clear. So appreciate the questions, but I'm going to put them on hold for just a second. Okay. Any other question, by the way, with regards to that, or any other questions that you have? That question I'm going to put on hold because we're going to see it here in just a minute. We get into the next lab. All right. So again, you're trying to understand the correlation between the Cloud SIM environment and the Cloud SOAR environment. Understand, I get it. Just bear with me. We'll discuss it. So here in the case management, right, we're going to use something to provide our case management with Cloud SOAR, right? We need to get some input. Could come from a firewall, could come from various other systems, all the different systems that Claudio mentioned, we integrate with. As far as case management though goes, some of it, we, just basic housekeeping, right? Where's our home button, right? So if we go into home button, we go into SecOps, that's where we can see all the assigned tasks for things. We can go into an incident, we can assign it to someone if we want to, things along those lines. We'll see our dashboard, so we can see at a very high summary area here, what's going on as far as how many open insights we have, how many closed insights. And again, you can customize that. We'll see that just a little bit. Again, I can go into my insights and I can see when we opened or closed or assigned and things along those lines. We can certainly play with that. There we go. And then obviously we also can triage these. And again, by triaging, and then there's a little button there, by the way, in Insights called triage. And basically this allows us to take the unverified threats or low confidence scores and kind of filter them out so we can focus on the things that really that we're concerned about, things that we really want to resolve and stuff like that. Take some of the low hanging fruit out of it, if you would. And then of course, as we talked about here, you got these entities, and these could be your IP addresses, your usernames, your host names, whatever, and they will come from the Cloud SIM environment. Now, for those of you who've had our Cloud SIM classes before, or you've been with Sumo for a while, normally we have our Cloud SIM information coming right in here to this Cloud SOAR information. The challenge was we reset the Cloud SOAR information right before this session. And so we're not seeing a lot of the data percolated yet into this system because we just reset it. And again, if we let this run for about 24 hours, you would see a lot more information. When I clicked on an entity like Rico Dynamite, I would see all the different IP addresses that they're generating, and I'm sorry, all the different incidences that they're generating and things like that. So things look a little off right now. It's just because of how we manage this for this Illuminate session. Now, we talk about threat investigation, right? There's three aspects to threat investigation. First aspect is detect and monitoring, right? Maybe we're going to look at some baseline metrics. Maybe we're going to use dashboards or alerts. Maybe we'll do things based on our Cloud SIM environment, but you're going to get some indicator that I've got a problem, something I need to investigate, something I need to check out. Then we'll typically investigate that, right? You'll use whatever tools and whatever resources you have to investigate that. And in investigating that, we're going to sit there and the investigation process is going to tell us a story. And so we're going to understand what that story is. We're going to hypothesize about that story, trace those events. And then ultimately, what we're going to do here is we're going to take action and respond. And that's really where Cloud SOAR accelerates, because we are going to quarantine machines, change passwords, and we can automate this. Certainly your SOC team can do this manually, but if it's going to happen time after time after time, why don't we automate it, save time, work smart, not hard, so we can really focus on the things we need to focus on. So this is really more of an area that the Cloud SOAR gets involved in. The Cloud SOAR, by the way, will also receive inputs from our various systems. And so we may very well detect and monitor through our Cloud SOAR. But typically when we investigate, we're going to investigate on that source system, be it Cloud SIM, be it some other SIM, be it firewalls, whatever, wherever we get that alert from. So this takes us to a hands-on lab where we're going to focus on threat investigation. So we're going to focus on threat investigation here. And then the next lab after that, we're going to go through remediation and resolving and all that good stuff. So in lab 2, we are going to find this persistence with initial access incident, and we are going to see what it's trying to tell us. So if you don't mind, I'm going to stop my slides. I'm going to go into Cloud SOAR here. I'm going to flick and go into my lab guide. So here we are in lab 2. So in lab 2, it wants us to click incidences. It wants us to click on this column configuration icon. So click on incidences, right? Here's my incidences. And then over here, this lovely icon to the right is my column configuration icon. Now, one of the cool things with this Cloud SOAR product is I can add additional columns if I want to. Time zone, kind, type. We want to add short description. So find short description, click the plus sign and add it into my active columns. And then when I click apply, you will now see we've added this short description field. Now, where did this short description field come from? It came from our source, which is basically our Cloud SIM product. Many of you have seen this short description before if you've done our Cloud SIM training. This is the MITRE ATT&CK framework persistence with initial access insight. And so this is identifying that insight. Now you may, if I look at all these pages, right, there are a bunch of these, and you may think, oh my God, what's going on? Well, actually, we created a whole bunch of these for you all to investigate, for you all to play with. They are all the same air, but I've got multitude of them so that each of you could grab an insight and you can resolve a specific insight. So there's just a lot of them in here so that you can play and see what's going on. So as I said, you can add columns in here. We're going to grab that short description, which gives us our MITRE ATT&CK framework information from our insight name, if you will. Okay. And hopefully that starts to tie back to Lou's question about how we integrate with our source system, in this case, our Cloud SIM. This is something I'm sure you're probably familiar with as opposed to these insight numbers. Okay. Now, going back to my lab guide here, the next thing they want us to do is they want us to go ahead and grab an insight. So I'm going to grab this first insight. I recommend that you all grab a different insight, pick an insight of your dreams, go down a couple pages, grab an insight. So you're working on a different insight, same information, but different insight. But I'm going to grab this first one. Now, when you add yourself or you click on an insight, it says, okay, understand your user's logged in with whatever account. Do you want to be an investigator for this insight? And then the question over here is I've got a bunch of roles. And again, these roles we set up and define by your administrator. What we want to do is we want to take our training analyst numbered account and we want to assign it the training user role. So again, it's based on how you're set up. We're going to go in here and define and say, I want to add this account to this role. And we're going to go ahead and click yes. And that then is going to open up this insight for us. Okay. Give me a second here. I've just posted it up in the chat box. So here's my insight. I can see what type of insight it is. It's a phishing insight. And then I can see the status. Now, this kind of goes back to one of Lou's questions or comments. When we look at this insight, we're going to see there was a phishing email. We're going to see some malicious files and stuff like that. This basically tells us under type the first thing that caused this insight to fire. So it was a phishing email. Then that generated a malicious file and that did something else. So typically when you see type here, it's usually the first indicator is what the type is defined as. And so what we can go into the actual insight and see all that stuff, which we're going to do in just a minute. Again, here's my insight information. Again, what time zone? I'm in GMT 0. So that's why it's displaying GMT 0. It's open. This is when it started. Here are my MITRE ATT&CK framework tags. Here's my entity. So again, I've got some information about this. Now, before I follow the directions in the book, let me give you a little tour here. Under operations, if I click on operations, I see there's 4 subtabs. War Room is where I can see who and all the activity that's been associated with this insight. So here's when it first got created, the incident owner was set, so forth and so on. I can see that we've all added ourselves to this insight as a training user role. Great. And so this War Room shows me all the activity associated with this insight. Very cool, very powerful. And if I want to, I can also filter based on these things and display or not display the different ones I want. In here is playbook, and right now playbook is blank. Later on, we will add a playbook and we will invoke a playbook against this particular insight. We'll come back and talk more about that. Tasks, here's where I can add a task. You can add a task. We can add a task and create a task for this. Maybe we need to investigate it. Maybe we need to assign it. Maybe we need to notify, different tasks that we might want to do. And then, of course, here's the notes section where we can specify notes and information about this. Maybe there's some supplemental information that we want to document and record. Then here under entities, again, this is the entity that makes up this insight, the who. And again, we can see what the entity is or entities are. And then also under here, under documentations, here's where I can generate my documentation on my resolution and all that stuff. And you'll see that coming up in another lab, so bear with us. Also, if there's any other attachments that you want to document here, maybe some screenshots or whatever, you can certainly do that. So any questions about any of this fun stuff? All right, so back to our directions. What it wants us to do is in the left navigation panel, it wants us to open up this insight. Now, again, I can open up this insight, I can add other investigators to it, that sort of thing. But we want to click on Open Insight. And this is going to take us into the source system. So our source system is our Cloud SIM environment. And I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with our Cloud SIM environment. Certainly Lou is, but I'm not sure how many of you are. But when I'm in an insight, over here on the left, I see the insight and the MITRE ATT&CK framework information. And in our Cloud SIM environment, I can assign actions to it. I can provide a status. I can assign it. I can do all that stuff. Now, all those actions and all those things, you can also do through the Cloud SOAR product. In fact, if I look here, here's my entity. Here's my overall severity. Again, I can see when my issue started, all that stuff. I can see my MITRE ATT&CK framework documentation here. And most importantly, down here is my comment section. So I can add, as I resolve this, investigate this, check this out, whatever, I can add comments in here. And as you're going to find out here in a minute, our Cloud SOAR environment can do that for us as well. So our Cloud SOAR environment can go back in here and change these settings, get some additional information, all kinds of cool stuff. And you'll see that in just a little bit. Now, over here on the right, you'll see I've got a timeline. This is my time on the x-axis. I've got these little symbols which indicate different things that have happened over time. So what I'm seeing here are the signals that generated this insight. So here on the 12th, I can see that I got a message from Proofpoint tab. User received email with phishing link. Okay. So a user receives an email with a phishing link. Nice to know. I can, if I want to, click on this and I can see why is this important. Here's a description of what's going on. Here's its severity score, which is provided by the rule that it went against. Here's some of the metadata values we pulled out. I can see all kinds of information that we detected this, who the user's email address was, again, what that IP address or where did it come from, what the entity is, all kinds of information here about that the user clicked on the email, shame on the user. By the way, in a lot of these fields, you'll notice there's a couple of dots just to the right of this. That's my context action button. And from that context action button, depending on the type of field, I can do all kinds of things like maybe do a who is on it, look it up, that sort of thing. Down here, I can see the extracted fields and various other extracted information. So right now I have a user clicked on an email with a phishing link. Wonderful. Okay. Now I could go back here to signals in my Cloud SIM environment and move on to the next signal. Or if I'm in a signal, all I have to do to advance to the next signal is go up here to the upper right-hand corner and click on this double arrow. And that will then take me to the next signal. And here I'm getting notification from Checkpoint. And Checkpoint is telling me that it found a malicious file. Lovely. And so I can sit and see, again, information about this file. It's based on this IP address. Again, it's from this IP address. It's trying to send it to my AWS environment, which is not a good thing, right? And so Checkpoint found it and said, no, 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 can't do that. And so here again, here's the name of the file, and the file may have been renamed to be sneaky. Doesn't make any difference. We're going to work off the file hash. And so I can see the various hashing information and various other things in here as well. So that's the second thing. First thing, we had a phishing email. Second thing, it generated a malicious file. Moving on, then we grabbed and we found the device IP matched a threat intel file hash. And so again, here, same sort of thing. I found a malicious file, a different source this time. So this is from my threat intel system. Found the exact same file. Again, found it through CrowdStrike. Lots of good information here. And then finally, yet another system, CrowdStrike, said, hey, I found something. And so it's going to generate a detection summary event. Again, it found this file. It's letting us know that it had this file. So again, user clicked on a phishing email that spawned this file. This file got copied, all kinds of happy, fun stuff here. And so we now have an idea of what's happened. Now I'm going to ask you guys, I don't know if you've got a SIM environment or not, but in your environment, how long would it take you to understand these sort of threats and see what's going on and understand this story that it's telling you? Hopefully, if you got, this may encourage you to get a Cloud SIM environment. Okay. I see somebody's got their mic open, so just want to be careful there. Thank you. Don't need to hear any private conversations.
Siempre tira más, siempre tira más. Tírate.
Okay. So question, Chris asked a question here. Where is the threat intel setup? I assume it's a lot of hashes. Chris, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that, the threat intel setup. We ingest logs and stuff, all of our CrowdStrike logs, all of our various other system logs, and we basically feed this into this Cloud SIM product. I'm inferring from your question, that's what you're trying to figure out. Where does this data come from?
Yeah, well, you had the checkpoint event and it had a hash, and then I think it looked at that hash from somewhere, did it not?
It's basically it identified that hash. That hash was in the logs. So it grabbed the hash and stuff out of the log. And if I wanted to, again, I could, I'm sorry, go ahead.
In Cloud SIM Enterprise, there's a section where you can ingest threat intelligence through like a Stix or taxi feed. And so that's what oftentimes generates that threat match. And so the raw log had the hash, but then CSE has its threat intelligence that you can feed it either manually or through an ingest like that. And that's what it would then use to trigger.
Correct, Brett. Thank you. And just so you understand, these products, the Cloud SIM product does some enhancement when it ingests those logs. It goes against CrowdStrike, it goes against other sources. You're going to find that the Cloud SOAR product does a similar thing. We can have it go to the URL scan and a bunch of other things that you'll see in just a few minutes to get more information about this threat. So you'll find that these products, like I said, come with the ability to connect to various other sources and other things and integrate with other products. So are there any other questions about this particular incident? or about Cloud SIM. And again, I encourage you all to take the Cloud SIM training that we've got going on here during Illuminate, as well as taking the Cloud SIM training after Illuminate. So you want to learn more about this. So basically what we've done here is we got the following sort of situation, right? User received an email with a phishing link. Known malicious file was allowed and downloaded. The phishing link and malicious file caused two signals to fire simultaneously. And those signals were severe and related. So again, a Cloud SIM insight was created. And that then got forwarded on to our Cloud SOAR as an incident, as a potential incident. And so that is basically lab 3, where lab 2, where we have investigated that incident. Now in lab 3, we're going to use Cloud SOAR to respond to that incident. So that's our next step. Before I get into response, just want to see if there's any questions.
How is the severity assigned in XOR from CSE?
Yep. Again, if I go back to the insight here, the severity is scored based on the rules. So first of all, there's an insight severity, which will be low, medium, high, or critical. And then each one of these has a numeric score, each one of these signals. And this is based on the MITRE ATT&CK framework rules. And you can adjust these scores if you need to, or when you create your own rules, you can assign the severity score that you want to those rules. But it's based on your risk and your concerns and stuff that you have, and where your threats are and all that fun stuff. So it's a number varying from 0 to 10. It can go as high as 11, but for test purposes, 0 to 10. And again, you assign that. These numbers, of course, get added up. And by the way, if I take these numbers, and again, they're all share the same IP address. So 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 5 is 15. If that over a 2-week period, if these signals add up and they're greater than 12, greater than or equal to 12, that's what generates this insight. And that insight then goes into my Cloud SOAR environment. Does that answer your question, Lynn?
Yeah, so basically the severity in this incident source system, right? In this case, it's CSE, is carried over in the XOR.
Yeah, you can just to add something. You can rely to the severity of the source of the alert, or simply decide inside Cloud SOAR based on the type of alert, decide which is the severity inside the Cloud SOAR. And that can be also changed during the analysis, so you can escalate or not the severity automatically or manually during the analysis. So you can rely, as I said, on the classification that you have in the source platform, or just simply reclassify them when you ingest inside Cloud SOAR. That answer your question?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, again, Lou, appreciate you asking the questions, because I'm sure other folks have similar questions. Okay. Before I get into how we are going to use Cloud SOAR to respond to this, I propose, ladies and gentlemen, we take a break. So if you don't mind, let's take a quick 10-minute break. And when this timer gets down to 0, I'd like you to be back. So feel free to fill up your coffee mugs or your water bottles or whatever. Take a break, stretch break, and we'll see you back here in about 9 minutes and 50 seconds. Have a good break, folks. Hey, folks, welcome back. So hopefully you had a chance to get a break there and fill up the mugs or the water bottles or whatever you need to do. And so let's pick it up where we left off. So you may recall, as we last got together here, we were talking about how a user had received an email with a phishing link. And then that generated a no malicious file was allowed and downloaded. The phishing link and the malicious file caused two signals to fire simultaneously. Those signals were severe and related. So again, this insight was created. That insight was also then forwarded to the Cloud SOAR environment as a potential incident, excuse me. Now we're going to use Cloud SOAR to respond to this, to take corrective action, to fix things. And so this is the process of a SOC analyst using this Cloud SOAR product. In a perfect world, we would be able to prepare and do preparation so that we would never have any security incidences, right? We use firewalls, multi-factor authentication, various other things to limit our exposure, right? So the first thing a SOC analyst has going for them is this preparation. And I promise you, you'll see these points again in the exam. So preparation again, trying to minimize our exposure. Now, we can't minimize everything, we can't resolve everything, or we can't, prevent everything. We're going to sit and see that we've got some issue. We're going to set up some alerts, monitor our systems, get an insight into the Cloud SOAR environment, incident, and we'll deal with that. So we identify that there is a problem. The second thing that a SOC analyst does. The third thing that we do is we contain it, right? We want to isolate those affected machines and block those accounts. And this is where that Cloud SOAR environment can come in. It can isolate that machine off the network. It can, disable accounts. It can do various other things and automate that. After we contain it, we want to eradicate it, maybe remove those malicious files, remove those phishing emails, reset the accounts, delete accounts, whatever we need to do as far as actions. And then finally, we want to recover. We want to reset passwords or the environment back to a pre-incident state. So these are the 5 steps, if you will, that a SOC analyst with a Cloud SOAR does. But wait, if you act right now, we're going to throw in a 6th state, which is very important. Conduct a post-mortem. What did we learn from this? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? How can we improve? So the lessons learned also play a role here. And then we're going to go back and deal with the next insight and go through this over and over and over again. So I promise you, you'll see this again on the certification exam. Again, what are playbooks? Playbooks allow us to provide automated steps, either partially automated or completely automated, to resolve things, to take the systems offline, to change passwords, to reset accounts, to take whatever actions we want, and allows us to automate those. We can use information from an incident. So if we have to, we can go back to the source and say, hey, I need more metadata. You told me this was an incident. I need to know more information about this incident. So we can go back to that if we need to. We can execute after a threat has been identified, and this can be set to automatically execute, or we can kick it off ourselves. Of course, ultimately, this is going to orchestrate our investigation, our containment, our eradication, and our recovery. Some of those steps we talked about in the previous slide. This is going to take care of those steps for us. Again, we can take advantage of APIs, application programming interfaces, and various other integrations to help ourselves to resolve this. Okay. Just to take an example here, a playbook use case. And again, there's lots of use cases, right? Phishing email is just one. Malicious malware downloads of files is a situation. So we think about the various steps, right? Again, prepare, we installed VPNs and firewalls to prevent our users from doing malware downloads. We also try to train them and make them aware of these malware downloads, and don't click on these emails that said you won $1 million, click here, or something like that, right? And then we identify, the SOC analyst discovers this malware download. So we get an incident in our Cloud SOAR environment, and we identify that incident and examine it. We're going to use Cloud SOAR to quarantine the affected machines behind this, maybe reset the passwords if we need to prevent more downloads, but basically try to isolate and contain this issue. And then after we contain it, we'll start to eradicate it. We'll scan the laptops as we need to, or the servers as we need to, for the malware to delete it, block that IP address source if we need to, whatever actions we need to take. Same with a phishing email, we can eradicate it by getting rid of that email. And then we want to recover. Now, this is the one I take issue with, right? We're going to provision new laptops for affected employees. I've never had a virus yet where somebody said, oh, well, we're going to buy you a new computer. So I just haven't seen that one happen. So, but we can obviously re-image your machine if we need to, or something along those lines. You know, if your machine's, you know, messed up, we can re-image it and send you on your way. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, lessons learned, right? You know, what do we learn from this? You know, we need to remind our users, hey, don't click on those download files. Don't click on, you know, don't go after that stuff. You know, again, cybersecurity training, or make people aware, maybe send an email across the company, reminding them that this has occurred. Here's the steps that we've taken. Your SOC team wins another one for you again, okay? And of course, that's just one playbook use case. Here's some others, right? Data exfiltration, right? Phishing, which of course is fairly common in a lot of companies. Brute force, again, somebody trying to hack in. All I need to know to hack into an environment is I need to know two things: your username and your password. In many cases, your username is your email address. So I'm already 50% there. Now I can just guess your password. And then, of course, custom and pre-built playbooks. You will find that when you integrate into a system, whether it's our cloud SIM system or any other system out there, we've got a bunch of pre-built playbooks that you can get from the App Central. So we have an area called the App Central where you can download these playbooks. The reason I mention this is you're going to see this in a test question. So again, I'm trying to help you out here. You can download the playbooks from the App Central, or you can build your own if you want to, either using APIs or manually, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. Playbook customizations, okay? These playbooks, like I said, most of them are pre-built and they're downloaded from the App Central. Again, test question. Don't get that one wrong. You can modify a pre-built playbook or create one from scratch using these drag and drop tools. And we'll talk about the various steps and stuff. So for example, each node is an integration. They can do enrichment, they can do containment, they can do daemon, they can do notification, they can do API. I believe this is a test question. So again, enrichment, containment, daemon, notification, or API. So these steps that I add in here, again, maybe I need to get some additional information. Maybe I need to take containment action. Maybe I need to run a daemon. Maybe I need to send an email, you know, that sort of thing. So our enrichment playbook integrations, like I said, enrichment, we want to go out and grab some different metadata, grab some additional information, that sort of thing. Containment, isolate the machines, isolate the data, isolate the user, whatever. Again, daemon is some sort of a background program process that we want to do something action. Notifications, we want to send an alert or an email or a Slack or a Teams message or whatever you need to do. And then here, custom allows us to use tools and automations made in YAML, Perl, Python, PowerShell, and Bash. So those are the languages and the tools that we can use for these script or various automations that we want to. Now, there is another part of this product, which is called the Automated Responder Knowledge, the ARC. And the ARC uses machine learning to suggest what playbook you need for your incident. When we do the next lab, you're going to see I'm going to add a playbook. The ARC is going to recommend to me the playbooks that I should use based on what it's learned about these things. By the way, this screenshot is kind of important. The ARC suggestions, there's a test question about ARC suggestions where you can add, run, dismiss, and blacklist. Those are the choices here associated to your ARC suggestion. You might see that one again, just to give you a little heads up. So this automated response knowledge, again, is going to recommend to us the appropriate playbook based on our incidences. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the incident response lab. So let me stop my slides. Let me go into my Cloud SOAR environment. back in my Cloud SOAR environment, I want to go in here, my lab guide, lab 3, and it says I want to make sure I'm in the incident from lab 2. I want to go to the operations tab and I want to click on playbook. So if I'm not in this incident for whatever reason, maybe I'm back out here, maybe I'm in my SecOps dashboard, maybe I've downloaded some documentation. It's real simple. I click on incidents and I go back into that incident. Now, again, they want us to go in here to operations. They want us to go in here to playbook. And I mentioned before, there is no playbook here, but we're going to add a playbook. So when I click on this plus sign up here, the ARC is going to recommend a playbook. The ARC is going to recommend a playbook. And if I scroll down, I should see training phishing use case. And that's the playbook we want to use for this. And you may ask yourself, why? Well, there are some things we don't necessarily want to delete or resolve or isolate or things like that for this training example, because we want to be able to use it over and over and over again. So again, when you click on the plus sign, add playbook, you want to scroll down to make sure that you see this training phishing use case. That's the playbook that we want. We're going to check mark it or click on it, and we're going to sit there and go ahead and click on add. This is then going to load that playbook up in here. And if you don't mind, I'm going to collapse this area over here to my left to make this a little bit more full screen. And I can, if I want to here, zoom in so that I can show you what these steps are. Hang on a second. So there we go. So the first thing that we've got here is we got a start button. This is what's going to start our process. And if I want to here, I'm going to open these up and explore these. Now I can click on these while it's in this mode, but I can't make any changes here. So here it's going to go out and it's going to go to my Cloud SIM and it's going to get my incident ID from my Cloud SIM and it's going to add that. So it's going to enrich. That's what this green bar is. It's an enrichment step. So we're going to go out back to the insight in the Cloud SIM environment and grab some additional information. Then over here, the next step is it's going to sit there and send the information to URL scan IO. And it's going to evaluate, let URL scan IO evaluate this and tell us what it thinks. Is this a problem or not? Additionally, we're going to enrich the IP address with virus total. So we're going to sit there and go out to virus total and again, see based on this IP address, if this is a known threat or not. So these are the steps that are in this, whoops, excuse me, this particular playbook. I'm trying not to shrink this up. There we go. Then what I'm going to do, really got to quit using two buttons, two things for that. Then what I'm going to do is I've got two steps here that I'm running in parallel. If you don't mind, let me see if I can't shrink this down a little bit. Make it easy for you to see. So here on this step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Cloud SIM and I'm going to record all this information into my comments. So this step is going to write this stuff into my comments. And then over here, I'm going to go in and I'm doing a custom action where I'm going to add a note into my insight here. So again, in my notes section, I'm going to add a note with this information as well. Then I get to a decision point. And if I go into this condition, it's basically checking to see, is either my overall score greater than 0 or is my virus total score greater than 0? If it is, I'm going to change the severity of this incident to high. And I am going to assign this to a user. If it's not, if it is 0, then I'm going to change the severity score to low, and I'm going to automatically close the incident. And the last action here is an end button that says this flow, this process is done. So that's what's going to happen here when I run this. By the way, in the lab guide, it has us run this. We're going to do it in just a few minutes. I want to show you a couple of other things before I do that. let's say that I want to modify this. Let's say I want to change this. Well, in order to change this, I can go in here to the edit mode. I click on the pencil. And then if I wanted to add a step, oops, excuse me, I could either go here, let's go out here to the start. I can go out here to the start step and I can add a note. So I can go out here, start. There we go. And I can add an action, a task, a condition, a user choice. I can even invoke another playbook. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can't. There we go. Bring that up. So I can edit this. I can modify it. If I need to delete connection here, I can go out here if I'm in the edit mode, and I can go out here, and of course I can delete that connection by clicking on the little red X, or I can then connect these two up if I want to, and connect things as I need to and create the flow that I want. So you and I can edit these things just fine. And then when we're done editing these things, we'll save this. And right now I'm not seeing my save option. So bear with me here a second. I know it's because I'm in full screen, but I was hoping. Oh, it's down here at the bottom. That's why I can't see it. Okay. So again, when I'm done editing this and I clicked on edit, there's an option to save it. And then now that I've got it saved, I can run this. And that's what we want to do. Now, when I click run, this incident is going to fire up. You might notice this says it's running, and it is. Let me shrink it. Let me grow it out here a little bit so you can see it. So I see the steps that are occurring. Right now it's running this step. As soon as the step is done, it will move on to the next step. So I can see the process here of what's happening, the actions it's taking. And if we wait just a moment or two, excuse me. I can see this on this step right here and done. Now we're done. So start time, end time. So again, we run this per our Lab 3 guide. And what we want to do is check a couple things. So one of the things that we can do is we can go back to our insight. Remember that one of the steps in our insight was to add comments to our insight. So down here, if I look, here are some comments with our URL scan and our virus total scan. So I can see we've added some comments into this. Is there a question? I'm hearing an open mic. Yeah. So there's that. I also mentioned to you that if I looked under notes, I would see some notes. And here's my notes. Here's my scan results. I can open this up. I can see basically what happened, what my notes are that I wrote. So we can check out our notes. We can see, like I said, the various steps. We see the various comments. And basically, we are in good shape. Yeah. See if I can find out who that open mic belongs to, and maybe I can mute them. Here's some typing in the background. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna go old school and I'll mute everybody. So it's one of the. I know you. I assume you're hearing typing in the background like I am. So I thought I'd stop that. Okay.
So to answer a question, in this case, you're editing for that specific incident. And editing the main playbook usually is an activity related to the admin of the platform.
Yep. So Subham, your question was, when we edit a playbook, it will edit for that particular incident, or will update the main playbook. And as Claudio mentioned, it's going to edit for the specific incident. Okay. So thank you for asking. Now, the the next point of conversation here is we want to finish this up. So we've responded to this. We have, run the phishing use case playbook. Now we also want to go out here and we want to document this and generate a document. So this is lab number 4. So in lab number 4, again, we go back to this incident that we're in. We click on the documentation tab. We click on report. So again, back here to the Cloud SOAR, we are in the insight. We are going to go to documentation. We are going to click on report. Now, obviously, all of your different companies have different logos, different disclaimer statements, different things. And so you and I or your administrator create base docs with the company language, the company stuff, and all that. And so what we're going to do, and we create this report, is we're going to select that base doc. And in our case, it's this base doc right here. We're going to go ahead and check mark it. When the check mark it, the check doesn't show up real well, but you'll notice it says deleted, selected, set as default. And more importantly, my open button is now enabled. So we've got an enhancement request to change the color of this to make it look better. But when you click on open, now it will show me the things that have happened here, the various steps, the various activities that we have. And then if I want to, I can export this final report and it will export it out as a Word document. And so you and I can open up this lovely Word document and we can share it with folks, and we can, part of our documentation process here of what we did, and the steps that we took and the methodologies that we used. So this is obviously closing up an incident. And that's what you're doing here in lab number 4. Any questions about that? Okay. So we got a couple more things to talk about, and then we're going to get ready for the exam. So just bear with me. So here we want to talk about dashboards and reports. And again, these are two conversations, dashboards and reports. They are related in the fact that, the dashboards will allow people to interact and show me what have you done for me. My reports, my KPI reports, will also allow me to show you what have you done for me. So again, we want to be able to visualize our environment status with our dashboards, with our reports. What's happened here? What have we resolved? What have we done? We also want to make people aware that we've seen certain threats. Maybe we'll additionally see more of these threats. So again, it's a communication device. Again, it's identifying ongoing incidences, what resources we need, that sort of thing. Again, we can show you the results of our threat hunting and investigations, and of course, our lessons learned. So both our dashboards and reports will focus on that, as well as providing this information to our various teams. Not only our SOC team, but maybe our management team, maybe our executive sponsor. Again, if you're trying to go to the well and get more money, this is what we've done for you. This is how we've earned our paycheck. We'd like more money. Now we break this down. There's two areas here. There's KPI reports, key performance report indicator reports, right? Again, it's going to show me how many incidents we've resolved in a period of time, what activities we've taken, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you'll see we're going to have an exercise to play with that. High level overview, typically done on a monthly or quarterly event, but you can schedule them monthly, quarterly, whatever. Again, you can customize and break them down by filter, maybe break them down by incident type or assigned analyst or other things. And then you can also schedule these delivery via email if you want to. So that's the KPI reports. And then as far as your dashboards go, when you lay out your dashboards, be cognizant of putting your most important information up here at the top, right? I don't know about you, but most of us read left to right, top to bottom. I don't want to have to go digging through a dashboard to find the most important information. So put your most important information at the top, upper left-hand corner if possible. Organize around different themes. For example, your CEO and your leadership team look at this differently. So you may want to build a dashboard with a theme that reflects the information that they need. Your SOC team needs different information. So you're going to organize a different theme for your SOC team. So when you build these dashboards and things like that, you're going to have different themes based on who the user is that's logging in and seeing things. And by the way, this makes a great test question. So I want to make sure you're aware. Again, you're going to use different themes. Make good use of font sizes, colors, and customizations. Keep in mind that our eyes are automatically drawn to red. So use red sparingly and use red to denote errors and important things. Green is something else we also maybe put our eyes to. So use green perhaps to recommend good things. It's up to you. Consider who's going to view this, consider who's going to edit this. You do not want to have a whole bunch of folks editing your dashboard. A couple folks and everybody can consume it and view it. So this brings us to 2 labs that we're going to do where we're going to sit there and customize and export our dashboards and reports. So in lab 5, we're going to customize a dashboard. In lab 6, we're going to create and export a KPI report. So again, here's my lab guide. Lab 5, we're going to customize a report. Now, what I want to do here is I want to go back to our dashboard area in our Cloud SOAR environment. So when you go in here to Cloud SOAR, I'm right now in an insight. What do I click on, folks, to get me back to my dashboard? What do I click on? Put it in the chat box, unmute your mic. Let me know, how do I get back to my dashboard? Subham says Sumo Logic. Click on the logo, Dustin says. Both of you are absolutely correct. So let's do that. I click back over here, and then from here, I can click on the word dashboard. Great. Now, before I talk about widgets and continue this exercise out, I want to show you something. So here I have this widget that's displaying this information across my top, across the entire width of my dashboard. And then below this, I have another widget that's displaying some information across my entire dashboard. Below that, I have another widget that's displaying information across my dashboard. Then down here, I have 2 widgets that are on the left side. Nothing's on the right side. Now, the reason I point that out is because in the lab guide, they want us to click on this customize button. And when I click on this customize button, it shows us our dashboard. And it says up here across the top, I have 3 widgets, which is what we saw, 3 different widgets. Over here on the left, I have 2 widgets. Over here on the right, I have no widgets. And down at the bottom, I have no widgets. The point is that when you want to add a widget to these areas, you've got to pick the section that you want to add it to. So in our case, on step 4 of page 19 of our lab guide, we want to go to this top widget and we want to click on the plus sign. So let's go ahead and click on that plus sign, top widget, and we get a choice. We want to display incident overview information, incident over time information, custom widget information, task overview. What do we want to display? And in our case, per the directions, it wants us to use incident over time. So we'll click on that plus sign. That's going to add this widget to our widget grouping up here, widget section. So that's basically what we're doing. Now they want us to customize this widget. So if we click on this gear icon, so here's our widget that you and I just created. We're going to click on this gear icon, and in the title, they want us to append either our student number or our initials. So I'm going to add my initials in here. And then we can change some settings. So on these incident over time, what do you want me to use as far as time? Opening time, start time, detect time, close time, whatever. We're going to go with the default of opening time. Then it asks us what time frame do we want? Do we want current year, current month, current quarter, current week? They've asked us in the directions to grab current month. And then the chart type. Do you want to have a bar chart or an align chart, or what kind of chart do you want? Again, we're going to leave that alone. And then here under split view, do we want to split it by queue or by type? And again, per the directions, we want to grab it by type. Now down here, there's a refresh and the value is set for 0. If it's set for 0, it means it will not automatically refresh. I change it to 1 or 2, it means it will automatically refresh every 1 or 2 seconds. Whatever seconds I put in there, that's how often it will refresh. Now I can go ahead and click save, which is what I want to do. I've now saved that. Then it's going to take me back here to my widget dashboard customization area, where I want to click save on that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you all have added a new widget here. So here's that original widget. Here's that original widget. Excuse me. Here's that original widget. And here's the widget that we've just added. Incidents over time based on my current month. I can put my cursor down here and see blue is fishing. This is back on 12/9. Up here, I now have because I'm set for GMT, it's formatted my date as day, month, year. Okay. Also down here, I can see my intrusion attempt. And if I want to, I can also use these to filter and see and highlight the different objects and stuff here that I want. So I can filter that. But we've added that widget. We've customized that widget. And because we did a split on it, that's what we're seeing, this split. And then, of course, we saw these 2 original pie chart widgets. So adding a widget here is very easy, very quick, very powerful. Any questions about that? All right, let's get into our last lab then. In lab 6, we want to create and export a report. Now, these are our KPI reports. This is not an incident report. This is a KPI report. And again, they want us to go back to dashboard. And in the upper right-hand corner, they want us to click KPI dashboards. Okay. So again, here I am in my dashboard. And again, if you're someplace else, getting back to your dashboard is not hard. You click on the upper left-hand corner where the Sumo logic name is. Click on dashboards. And then we're going to go over here to the KPI reports. And basically what we have here is we have kind of a wizard here to kind of guide us through creating these KPI reports. Now, Subham just asked a question here. Can we set up the dashboards according to users or roles? Yes, in fact, that's what we advocated, Subham, that you can set it up based on users and roles. And this is something that your administrator does, which is why we don't really talk about it here in the class, because it's something more your administrator will do. So that if I'm an executive, I will look, my dashboard may look different from you, the SOC analyst. But yes, you can. Claudia, anything you want to add to that?
No, you already said everything. So
Took all your thunder, huh?
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay. So good question. Thank you very much for asking. Appreciate it. Now, dashboard and KPI reports here, right? Like, so we clicked on KPI reports. So here we basically get to pick, what do we want to display? Do we want to talk about incident response? Do we want to talk about forensic investigation? What do we want? And per the directions, it wants us to grab incident response. Now, for incident response, we get to select what output do we want. Do we want a daily report? Do we want a monthly report? What sort of output here do we want? And so we want to grab monthly report. And then we can put a title to this and a description to this if we want to. So let me get back in here to my little report. I'll just go ahead and fun here and put in a title. This is company confidential here. I usually like that sort of stuff. And then all we have to do is click on generate. And it will then generate our report. And it will generate this report as a PDF report. PDF report. And then we can open it up. So right now it's in the process of generating our report. By the way, in here, you can also take these reports and you can filter them. You can break them down by different fields, who the analysts are, the detection time, the report time, all that good stuff. Decide what fields you want to display on these, what formatting that you want to use. And again, here's where you get to specify your report format, whether you want it in PDF, encrypted PDF, XLS, that sort of thing. So if you look at one of the output of the report, I got an example here of one. Hang on. This is not the one I want, excuse me. Just bear with me. There we go. So here I've generated all the incidences that we've resolved, how long they've taken, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now you can obviously customize these reports as far as format, content, information, all of that good stuff. So again, you can control what you want to display here, how you want to display it, things that you want to provide in these reports, that sort of thing. But hopefully it will help you justify getting more money and more support for your SOC team. Any questions so far? What do you say we wrap this up and get you ready to take your exam? We are right on time. So summary and next steps, right? What did you learn today? Well, hopefully you learned about what is Cloud SOAR and why is it valuable and what can it do for you. You also had a chance to talk about incident response and playbooks and see how those work. And then last, we talked about dashboards and reports. So now we're ready to move on. What we'd like you all to do is we'd like you to take the certification exam, and I'm going to walk you through that and how to get there in just a minute. So bear with me. We also encourage you to take more training while you're here at Illuminate and past Illuminate. So go out there and see our classes, whether they're certification classes or workshops. There's a lot of good information here. Another thing, when you take any of our certification exams and you get certified, you will be invited to join our Sumo Logic user group on LinkedIn, our certification group. And of course, you're welcome to post up a copy of your certification logo and, hey, congratulations to me. I got one of the first Cloud SOAR certifications because this is a brand new certification for us. And feel free to put your comments, your bragging rights, whatever you want to in that LinkedIn environment. So what questions have you with regards to the product before I take you into the exam and walk you through that? What questions have you? I'm going to turn my camera back on just to, again, I'm going to take you into the certification exam. I don't want you to sign out or anything, but I did want to, give you an official, thanks a lot for spending the day with us and attending this session. So you guys asked some really good questions. I appreciate it. I hope we answered those questions. If there's anything we can do for you, feel free to reach out to myself or Claudia. Again, I'm going to put in here my email address. Claudia, I'm sure will probably do the same. And so if there's anything we can do for you, please do not hesitate to reach out. One of the true strengths of Sumo Logic, in my opinion, isn't just our products, but it's our people. So I would encourage you very strongly to take advantage of the time here at Illuminate and get to know the folks that are in Sumo, that are at Sumo. Get to know us, put us to the test. Otherwise, like I said, I'm going to stop my streaming sharing here, and I'm going to let you all guide you to taking the certification exam. Oh, sorry. Claudia, is there something you wanted to answer?
No, just to thank everyone who followed the session.
Agreed. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stop the slide deck. Okay. And as far as taking the certification exam on this Cloud SOAR tab that you've got open, you don't need it open anymore. So you can close it, right? You can log out if you want to, or you can just flat out close that tab. You don't need it open. Here in the Sumo Logic training environment where you're logged in as training analyst, whatever number, you need to log out. You will not be able to take the exam from the training analyst account. So how you log out is real simple. Again, if this navigation panel on the left is not opened up, click on Sumo Logic or the hamburger menu to open it up. Go down here where your training analyst account is, click on it. A little sub menu will appear. Click on sign out and Shazam, you are signed out. Pure and simple. Okay. And what I want you to do is I want you to log into your company's Sumo Logic environment. Now, for those of you who are Sumos in class with me today, two things I want to mention to you. You can go into customer usage, you can go into SE demo, any environment where you log in with your credentials is what we want you to log into. The second thing I wanted to make my fellow Sumos aware of, that offer we have about the gift card, you're not eligible for it. You're a Sumo employee, so you don't get the gift card if you complete the exam. But obviously you want to complete the exam because, hey, we're Sumos. This is what we do. So I want you to go, again, our customers, our partners, those folks, I want you to go to your company's Sumo Logic environment, and I want you to log in with your credentials. And when you log in with your credentials to Sumo Logic, now when you click on the House tab, and you click on Certification, and you click on Get Certified, now you're going to see lots of things, okay? Here's that recorded live training where once again, you can grab the slides, you can grab the PDF document, things like that. But over here is where our self-paced courses are. And if you want to, you can take a self-paced course. You can go in here, whatever your focus area is, maybe it's security, I'm assuming it's security. And you can take these various self-paced courses, the same basic content as our certification exams. Let me go back one for a second though. Also, here's where we keep the password. So every month we change the training analyst account. This is where we change that password. If you need administrative rights in our training environment, just send us an email to training@sumologic.com. And I'm the one that gets to respond to those. So I'll give you an account and I'll give you the password and all of that good stuff. Let me go back again. I'm sorry. I'll go back again. Okay. Learn a new skill. These are our micro lessons. So you can go out, all the micro lessons we post on YouTube, we also have here. So if you're looking for a quick micro lesson on how to install a collector or how to set something up or run a query, there's micro lessons here, quick little 5 to 10 minute videos that you can watch to help you out. I've already talked about recorded live training. Get certified. Here's where you and I are going to take our exam. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and click on Get Certified. And here under Get Certified, you will see all of our various exams. You'll also see that we've got some in Japanese and some in various other languages here, if you want, Spanish, that sort of thing. Now, unfortunately, the Cloud SOAR Fundamentals exam is only in English, so we haven't translated to other languages. But here on the second row, about the middle, you should see the Cloud SOAR Fundamentals exam, and you can click on it. Now, you may need a little button here to register or not. If you do, just click on the button and you're good to go. What I would like to do, though, is I'd like you all to stay where you are. Do not click along. Do not start the exam. Humor me for a minute, okay? I want to point out a couple of things. Number one, in the upper right-hand corner, if you click on that, you can add, and here's your profile. If you want to add your image to that profile, you can. Here's your information. Great. Here, I can see when I passed various exams and see the results of those exams. I can also see the certificate of my latest exam or my current exam, whatever. I can add it to my LinkedIn profile. So this keeps track of a history of all the exams that I have taken when I've passed them and all that good stuff, okay? And again, I can click on these and have a good time. Now, when I'm done with my profile here, yours may be a little lighter than mine, you can click done. And it takes me back here to my exam. Again, please do not follow along with me, just watch. So when I'm ready to take the exam, I can click on continue course, take the exam. And so here come the questions. So which step in the incident response cycle does the highlighted node perform? Okay, this is an enrichment step. Remember, I pointed out that the green one was for enrichment. So I'm going to choose enrichment, and I'm going to go ahead and click to the next question. By the way, I can see a grand total of my questions over here. Check marks will denote what I've answered. Non-check marks will indicate I haven't answered it yet. Where can the ARC suggestions be activated in the SecOps dashboard? Okay. Where can ARC suggestions be activated in the SecOps dashboard? I don't believe you can enable ARC suggestions in the SecOps dashboard. So let me go ahead and answer that one. Now, where can KPI reports be exported, right? They're exported from the dashboard. Now, I've answered 3 questions here, and I'm going to end this. Obviously, I'm not going to pass. Okay, I get that. But I want to show you something very, very important. So when I say submit all answers, it says, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Submit all answers. It says I didn't pass. I got 8 points. And then here I can see the questions I got right and the questions I got wrong. And I got this question wrong. So again, I can click on it. All I can see is the incorrect, my choice. I can't see why I got it wrong. But most importantly, and the thing I want to point out to you is when we see our results, there is this submit results button. And when you take this exam and you pass this exam and you're very happy, and I'm very happy for you, don't forget to click the submit results button so it adds it to your profile. If you don't click the submit result button, it's not going to be in your profile. You're not going to get credit for passing the exam. So please don't forget to click this button. That's my ask. That's why I'm sharing this. Are there any questions about this exam? Any questions about taking this exam? All right. Then let me turn off the recording. Again, I want to thank you all for being here. I'm going to stop the recording.